All right, how many of you out there have heard this phrase, the Cupcake Camp? I don't know who started it, but the Cupcake Camp is in January. Our U.S. national team pulls in a bunch of players who are really not on the national team, and they are getting a look from our national team coach because, let's face it, the national team coach in January, he's bored. He just wants to go to Florida, and this is a good opportunity for him to meet some new people and some new agents and possibly find a diamond in the rough. How many times have we heard that? A lot has been made of this. I mean, we've seen it under numerous coaches, whether that be Bruce Arena, Bob Bradley, Greg Berhalter, and Jurgen Klinsmann. Jurgen Klinsmann has actually gone on the record to say it's kind of a joke, and it is succumbing to the pressures of Major League Soccer to a certain extent, where guys that maybe normally wouldn't have gotten a look are going to fulfill their dream by becoming a part of the Cupcake Camp. I hate the name, to be honest. I've participated in a couple of these. I've worked with Bruce Arena and Bob Bradley with the January camp. Now, to give you an idea, going to stretch your memory a little bit, in the camps that I worked in, these were guys that were just getting their first look at a national team, and they hadn't had that opportunity before. Most of the guys playing in Europe don't want to make the trip home, and they certainly don't want to piss off their clubs, so they stay where they are. And, you know, there's guys like, in my day, it was Sasha Kljestan, who became a wonderful player, ended up going to Europe, and did not make that team, that particular version of the 2010 World Cup team. Jeff Cunningham, who was doing wonderful things at the Major League Soccer level, was probably one of the better players in that camp, also didn't make it. Robbie Finley in that Cupcake camp proved to a lot of us that maybe he was somebody that needed to be put in consideration. Jeff Cameron, Benny Feilhaber, all of these guys really had an opportunity to come in, whether they were on the fringe of like, I'm not sure if this guy's going to be good enough to play with us just yet, or this was a real opportunity or not. We still call it the Cupcake Camp. And I want to change the name. I don't really like the name because I think it's kind of disrespectful to the guys that get brought in. But I mean, this is an opportunity to wear the shirt, to play for the U.S. national team, to participate in a camp, to learn how they do things. Much has been made about Greg Berhalter and creating a culture of brotherhood, if you will. And there's a couple of guys who are success stories through those Cupcake camps. I laugh every time I say it. I just don't like the phrase. But my take on this, it is completely and entirely political. It's not necessary. It's a couple of things. It's the U.S. Soccer Federation saying, we just hired this guy. We're paying him a lot of money. Let's put him to work. Don't have any players to work. Let's create a scenario where he has an opportunity to work. Most coaches, and Pochettino, if he was honest with you, would admit this is actually a pretty good opportunity for him to test out some of his ideas on the wrong people, but at least test out some of his ideas to see how this machine runs and see if this is ultimately going to work for him. Didn't work so well for Jurgen Klinsmann. Jurgen Klinsmann hated it, and his principles and his ideas that he wanted to enforce or employ, a lot of us saw them as foreign, but man, he did not like the Cupcake Camp, and for all the right reasons. It's not that it's a complete waste of time, but it is an employer saying, let's put this guy to work. And the second reason why they do this is to give Major League Soccer and some guys and some agents an opportunity to participate at the party. I look at it from a sense that when you look at the majority of the Major League Soccer players that come in, we just saw Sands move to the German Bundesliga, went to join St. Pauli outfit because he's concerned that if he has any chance to make this team, he's better off playing in Europe than continuing to play in Major League Soccer. I think he's right. I think a lot of people don't really want to go there. They don't want to say playing in Major League Soccer is going to hinder your opportunity to play for the national team. It is 1,000%, 1,000% times 1,000. If you're playing in Major League Soccer, it is not even fair to expect you to go play against the best in the world on a World Cup stage. It just very rarely will pan out. And if it does, it's a set of circumstances that is happenstance or luck or perseverance from the player's perspective, not because he was prepared for that kind of competition. The other thing I would say about the Cupcake Camp is that the guys that come in represent, of high level of football. They are good players, but this will also give them one more thing to say on their CV. When they're presented to the next team that they want to play for, they can officially say that, yes, I have a cap, meaning I have an appearance with the U.S. national team, and there's some business that goes along with that. Just so you understand, in order to get a work permit in Europe, that little cap, that ability to say that I've participated for my country means a lot, and it makes it feasible and possible for some of these players to achieve a work permit in the first place. Now, you can understand all the politics that go along with that, and some of the agents, whether they're the good guys or the bad guys, they're pushing for these kind of opportunities. So the Cupcake Camp actually has its function. It allows, whether you think it's false or not, and when I put it in the Cupcake category, that's up to you. But once you've put on the jersey and you've played for the U.S. national team, your ability to get to Europe increases massively because you got to get through the FA. You got to have a bunch of people who have to be told that this is a player that's going to take a job from somebody who lives within this country. So that's the way it worked for me when I had to get over. It was very very different set of circumstances because the Euro player wasn't any player that came from a European team was considered a European now. That's the Boston ruling. That happened in 1995. I just missed that. I'd be a rich guy if I would have been just a little bit younger. But this opportunity that's created through this silly little camp that we have a funny little name for actually has a purpose. So let's embrace it. Let's not make fun of it, because this is players that are trying to forge their way into the real conversation. And whether we think that they're just a sideshow or not, this opportunity for them could make a massive difference and could pay massive dividends in the end if they do actually get the opportunity to go to Europe and play at a higher level and make more money. So enough of the cupcake. Let's move on to the next.